afternoon, and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding the light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. Well, today, Black excellence is represented in the utmost way by a young, gifted writer, director who is the director of Liberation, currently running on Broadway at the James Earl Jones Theater for an 11 weeks engagement. This beautiful and talented lady is Tony Award nominee Whitney WHITE, the director of the play. Welcome to My Harlem Portrait, Whitney.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a wonderful introduction.
I'm so happy that we made it. As you remember, we met each other at the first time I saw the show. I saw it twice. I'm going to see it again because I love
Yay.
it. So the play is written by Tony Award nominee BESS WOHL,
hmm
Grand Horizons, and produced by Daryl Roth, Eva Price,
Yep.
Rachel Sussman, and Jenny Gersten.
Yes.
It comes to Broadway following its acclaimed world premiere earlier this year at Roundabout Theatre Company, where
Yes.
it won the Authors Critics Circle Award for Outstanding New Off-Broadway Play,
hmm
and the original Off-Broadway Company of Liberation were honored by both the Drama Desk and the New York Drama Critics Circle for Best Ensemble Performance.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you
So
so much.
you are, how does it feel? Because you were the director there, you brought this cast on Broadway. How
Mhm.
does it feel to have had such a success already?
I think when the actors can all be uniformly recognized for their outstanding contributions to a play, that feels really good because when you're directing a play with more than two people in it, a true ensemble based piece of theater in which every character is important to every beat, you really want the world to see how wonderful they all are. So I think particularly the ensemble award wins meant a lot to me, because like as a formal actor, sometimes when you're contributing to a play, you wonder, are my contributions helping the work? And I think our cast was really supported and valued by the community last season, and they get another shot at it right now on Broadway.
Yeah, definitely.
hmm
You are an Obie and Lily Award-winning director, writer, and musician. I didn't know
hmm
that. Based in New York. You
hmm
recently directed the acclaimed Jaja African Hair Braiding.
hmm
I saw that too, twice. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
The Secret Life of Bees, and you
Yeah.
won awards, Adelco Awards for that? Because I remember
Okay,
seeing
so I
that.
directed The Secret Life of Bees in London.
Ah, okay.
So
Oh,
I
you
did a
was then.
different production than that production. Yeah. But Jaja's African Hair Braiding I directed.
Yes. And it was fantastic. Then the
Thank you.
Jordans at the Public Theater,
Yeah.
Obie Award for New Play.
That was a special one. Yeah.
Soft,
Oh,
Lucille Lortel nomination for Outstanding Direction.
yes, thank you.
On Sugarland, I saw that too. It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Lucille Lortel and Drama Desk nomination for Outstanding Direction.
Yeah.
Tell me, all these awards, one by one, tell me how it felt. Which is the one that you cherish most?
Uh, I
The most
cherish the
difficulties, the best,
I
everything.
think I think the Obie Award is a very special one because the committees that are put together every couple years for the OBs are committees of our peers. It's a combination of designers, other directors, other writers. So they're people that you really value, whose opinion means a lot to you.
Mhm.
So I'd say the OB is particularly special because it's for us, kind of by us in this way. And I look up to so many Obie winners. So that one is definitely unforgettable. And as for the other nominations, again, it's like theater is so strange. It's ephemeral. We work so hard on it and then it's gone, after a few weeks.
Yes.
And sometimes you wake up after a closing, and I ask myself often, did that happen? Is it really just gone, or is it still out there? Is it creating conversation? Is it a part of our cultural backdrop? And the awards nominations just help you understand that there's a megaphone out there, that there's a receiver on the other end of the phone call, so they all mean a lot. And for an emerging Black director like myself, it's certainly every single one you cherish and you're grateful for.
Well, you're not really an emerging. If all
I
the
guess not.
emerging were like you know, we would have just excellence everywhere.
Thank you.
So this is fantastic. Tell me a little bit about the judge's African hair braiding.
Ah,
It
yeah.
must have been a pretty difficult one to direct.
It was fabulous though, because I feel, I grew up in a hair braiding salon. I remember the first time my mother got my hair braided, and she could afford to do it. And I'll never forget sitting in the salon watching these incredible women all day, because when you're getting your hair braided, you're there sometimes 10 hours. I've been at a braiding salon for 10 hours for a style. So you get to know the women that work there. You get to know their drama, their boyfriends, how much money they made for the day, what they think about each other, who likes each other, who hates each other. And I was very excited to kind of bring that world to a Broadway stage, that familial world, particularly because it was an immigrant story. Here's a group of immigrant women working as hard as they can to get by, and it felt like an important portrait. And the show has been touring ever since then. Our Broadway production actually just opened in Los Angeles,
Oh,
and it'll be the last stop. So Jaw just has lived on in this beautiful way. But it's not that it was difficult. It just had such an energy to it. The shop, we would always say to the audience, "Welcome to the shop," come on
mhm.
in.
That's what it was a fantastic show.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's come to Liberation.
Yeah.
The cast of Liberation is a stellar cast.
Yes.
It's featuring Tony Award nominee Betsy Adam,
Yes.
Audrey Corsa, TV All Rays, Kyla Davian, Broadway, Tina, she was Tina in the Tina Turner musical,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic, loved
Mm-hmm.
it, and Waitress. Susanna Flood,
Mm-hmm.
Broadway, Birthday Candles, The Cherry Orchard.
Mm-hmm.
Orchard. Crystalline Lloyd,
Love her.
love her too. Broadway 1776 or 1776, and
Yeah.
Dear Evan Hansen. Irene Sofia Lucio, Broadway, West End, Slave Play, and Wit.
Yes.
Charlie Thornton and Adina Verson on Broadway, Indecent, TV, Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
I heard you saying, or I saw it written.
Mm-hmm.
It is only this cast, this group of beloved New York performers and incredible actors who could debut this work on Broadway.
Yeah.
They connect to the play and each other in such an unforgettable way. Their chemistry is electric, and
Mm-hmm.
you may not know them yet, but they are the stars of tomorrow. Come see them. This is a cast and a generational story not to be missed. I
Mm-hmm.
totally agree. Tell me about this magical connection between them and a little bit about each one of them, if you want.
Yeah. Thank you for introducing each and every one of them. Again, it means so much to me when my actors are championed for their work. And what's funny is, they've really become a team. I use a metaphor of basketball. I use basketball as a metaphor often, in the show because it is such a team sport. So many beats in the show are dependent on, 10 dominoes lining up before your moment, for your moment to hit, And I think each and every one of them has just a love of the theater that's undeniable. You can tell when you come and see liberation, and you've seen it. You can tell as soon as the lights are up and one of them hits the stage, you can tell they want to be there.
Yeah.
You can tell that they understand why they're there, and you can tell that, they want to do it to the best of their ability, and that's kind of a perfect storm for a thrilling performance. I'd say starting with Betsy. I got to know her work over the seasons. Betsy is a gem of New York theater and beyond. She's done so much incredible work. And during Jaja's African hair braiding, I got to know her because we were both doing shows at Manhattan Theater Club. And she
Wow.
was so vivacious. She was just vivacious and full of life. And when I think about Margie, the most aged or eldest
Yeah.
character in the play, I wanted her to feel vivacious. I didn't want her to feel sad. The women I know are not sad. They're
Mhm.
fabulous, even as they age. And Betsy had a certain amount of poise that made the character feel like a fighter as
Yeah.
opposed to a victim, and that felt very important. And then Susanna Flood, who's our Lizzie, who's kind of
Mhm.
our lead griot or
Yeah.
storyteller of the play. I think that when I'd known her because we went to the same graduate program at very different times, but I've always known Susanna to have a very open channel. It's very easy for her to connect to her pain, her humor in an easeful, honest way. She doesn't lie. She can't lie on
Yeah.
stage. And I thought that for the main character, we needed someone that you could identify with, but someone you could believe. You didn't want to feel like the actor was forcing so hard to manufacture these emotions. You wanted to feel like water flowing through them.
She's very bouncy and very
Yeah.
herself. It really feels like she is doing herself.
Yeah, and that's such a feat because that's not easy to do for 2.5 hours. And Crystal and Lloyd I'd known through the musical theater. Crystal and Kayla are both my musical theater divas who act with such integrity and ferocity. And I had known both of them from their work on Broadway. And I'll say, the beauty of Kayla and Crystal are these two very unique portraits of Black women.
Yeah.
They don't agree. They're not from the same side of the fence. And I think that that is very rare to meet different kinds of Black people in a play that have very different political beliefs that might be untenable. And I thought the two of them came at that with such love and respect that they really could go at it with each other. Yeah, I loved watching them build their chemistry together. We have Charlie Thurston, our one man,
Mhm.
also from my graduate program that I've gotten to know. The one man interested in liberation, I always like to say. He's like a wonderful veteran of the stage and has performed all over the country. And I've gotten to see him in so many different roles over the years, classical plays, new plays, musicals, comedies, Chekhov, Shakespeare, everything. He's done everything. And it's so exciting that he's going to get this is his Broadway debut. And in fact, we have a couple Broadway debuts in the cast. Audrey Corsa, it's her Broadway debut as well, and she's fantastic.
Amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
yeah.
fantastic.
And Adina and Irene are no strangers to the stage. Irene having been in Slave Play, Adina in Indecent, and I think they really brought those women to life. Irene playing this immigrant woman, this Italian woman who's
Yes.
ferocious. You know,
I mean, being Italian, she is just fantastic.
she nailed it, right?
He nailed it, nailed it.
And then Adina, was playing this beautiful queer character, and they did so much research about how that person should be in the world, how that person operates in the group. And I just have a lot of respect for every single actor's approach to the play and their craft. It really was a lesson in theater making for a director.
And as you said, it's a team that
Mhm.
really works together in a wonderful way. And you can feel it, you can feel the connection between them, and that pours out onto the public. It was a
Yes,
fantastic, fantastic show.
thank you.
Tell us a little bit what the play is about.
Yes. Okay. Liberation is about a woman living in the now, 2020 now, who comes out, talks to the audience, and says, what happened to feminism? What happened to the things our mothers fought for? She says to the audience, no, my mother's not here anymore, and I'd like to try and figure out what happened. She kind of does a gesture, and then all of a sudden we're in 1970. So the play is about a writer's attempt to excavate the past, to discover her mother in the past, and try and figure out why her mother made the decision she made as a heterosexual woman in a traditional marriage. And I think the lead character is trying to figure out, how she's supposed to live her life as well. She's also in a traditional marriage, and she's also trying to understand the balance between motherhood and work and family and love. And so the show is really kind of a time capsule as one woman tries to meet her mother and figure out what happened. And along the way, we all get to kind of reckon with what's happened. What's happened to women's rights? What's happened to the conversation that we're all a part of?
And the way Lizzie, the protagonist, the one who's telling the story about her mother, talks about and then becomes her mom,
Hmm.
it's very magical.
Yeah.
You see her moving in and out of
Hmm.
herself and her mom and being the glue for the group.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about each of the characters now, not
Sure.
the actors.
Sure. So when Lizzie goes back in time to meet her mother, she's not kind of catapulted into a women's group in Ohio. And in that group is this motley crew. I like to call them a motley crew of women. From Celeste, played by Kristen Lynn Lloyd, who is a Black political thinker and book writer working about Black women's revolution and how it needs to be organized, to Susie Firestorm, someone who's been kind of kicked out of SNCC, kicked out of the civil rights community for her queerness, for her otherness, and now she's washed up in Ohio. And then you have Isadora, this beautiful, brassy Italian woman who knows who she is, who knows she wants to fight. And she's stuck in Ohio because she had to get married for her green card. Then you have Dora, the other Dora, who doesn't know why she's there, but she knows she should be there and ends up being changed by the group more than anyone else.
Yes.
This young woman who realizes, no, I have a voice and I'm good at my job and I'd like to work my job. I'd like to have a love life. I'd like to be seen in my own life. And then you have Betsy Adams' character, Margie, who is, a whole generation ahead of the women. And she's in the thick of marriage. She's been married for 40 some years and trying to figure out what does equality look like when the status quo has been this way for that long. So all the women are coming at how can I live my life and what rights and laws should be in place to make living the life of a woman easier. And they're coming at that from very different socioeconomic and political places.
And that is also the other wonderful thing about this play, the way
Mhm.
it's written, it it seems like different people wrote it
Love that.
because it's so believable. Each one
Yeah.
of these characters is so believable
Yeah.
that you think, how could it be just one person thinking about all this?
Right. That's a testament to the writer. She had a wonderful dramaturgical process, and as a director, I tried to just like bring her sources to enrich that process, you
Mhm.
know? It's like Angela Davis was a resource to me for Celeste, but then again, of course, Gloria Steinem was, and then again, there were so many other people, musicians, political thinkers, and we tried to just listen to them all and find the right voices for the characters.
What were the most difficult moments and the most rewarding? Even thinking about the beginning before it came to Broadway, when you first started to direct this show.
You know, that's a great question. Directing is sometimes all about, sometimes you really just have to get people to buy into your idea, to your conceptual understanding of the play. And I understood and still understand the play very much to be a meta theatrical time traveling piece in which the membrane between now and then is very thin and very fluid. And so that means we need to build different vocabularies, right? And I think the most challenging thing was, um, helping everyone in the room trust the vocabulary that I wanted the play to have, right? With a flick of light, we can be back in 1970. With a little bit of blue light on Susanna and warm light on the group, we can understand that these people are in two different timelines without having to be so overt about it, right? With a slight sound cue, we can bump back into the scene. I wanted to find something gentle but hyper specific. And I think that was challenging. Just you always have to get people to trust as a director. Try it this way. We can always try it another way, but let's try it this way first. I think it's going to work. And that was challenging at times, but incredibly rewarding. And I think the most rewarding thing is kind of like you said it feels like the play is written by different people. And I wondered, how are all these voices going to mesh together? And I think opening night on Broadway was incredibly rewarding because, I've had faith in the piece for a long time now, but when you sit in an audience with hundreds of people and you see what hits you hit the crowd, like that's very, very very rewarding. It felt like the symphony had been constructed, like our orchestra had kind of come into it was complete opening night on Broadway. It was very rewarding.
Wonderful. Um, I would like to talk a little bit more about your career because we
Sure.
haven't just touched it. How did it all start?
Oh my
What
goodness.
made you take this path?
I don't know. I mean, I think God did. I think my mother did. I think fate did. Uh, as 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 early as I have memories, I remember singing. That was like the first I don't remember learning how to talk. I remember learning how to sing. I remember writing my first songs. I remember gospel choir, and I also went to a Catholic school, so I was in a Catholic choir. I was in a Black gospel choir. My mother was always playing me Portuguese music, African
Oh,
music,
wow.
reggae, Caesarea Evora, like classical music. So like I feel like before I have any kind of sentient thoughts or memories, I have uh, just a sensation of loving music and musical performance washes over me. And then that's the gateway drug for me, I think. And I started doing theater in high school. I was in a musical. I was in a Midsummer Night's Dream, and then I was in a production of Oklahoma, and I got so hooked on that team feeling. Because when you're in a musical, sometimes you're in musicals with 20 people. I mean, I think I've literally been in a production with 20 people on stage, and so you have to love people to do that 8 times a week, 6 days a week. And
Wow, yes.
I fell in love with that very early on. And I was an actor for a while. I did a lot of musicals in Chicago and things like that. And when I went to Brown for my master's, I met these incredible teachers who introduced me to directing. So directing is something that I formally found later, and I had been given a production of Hedda Gabler by
Mm.
Ibsen and 8 actors to adapt it on. And that changed my life. It felt like everything I'd studied for came together in that moment. My love of music, my love of people, my interest in politics, it all came together as a director. And now here I am, that's the center of my artistic practice is directing.
And now that you talked about the interest in politics, another very important part of your piece, the piece you directed now,
Hmm.
is the political moment.
Yeah.
Uh, I was growing up. I was going, I think, middle school
Hmm.
when the students movement started in
Yeah,
Europe,
yeah.
in Italy and in France. And I grew up admiring Angela Davis, the
Yeah.
Black Panthers,
Hmm.
the women liberation.
Hmm.
I was a rebel.
Yeah.
And in Italy, someone like me who left when I was 18, just after high school, to spend 3 months in England. And I came back to Italy 25 years later,
Wow.
living in many different countries, learning
Wow.
different languages. You were considered a little strange.
Yeah.
Your friend, they look at you and they think, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because you're a woman. If you
Hmm.
were a guy, they wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
So that moment that you are depicting in this piece is
Hmm.
very, very fundamental because we haven't really uh, made too many progress
Yeah.
in the mentality of people.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the truth of it. No matter where you are on the political spectrum of today, I think we all can agree on that. What we all define as progress hasn't fully been met by the moment. And in working on this play, I was very moved learning about how brave women were in that time, young women, students, or women like Margie who were like, I'd like to live a little
Mhm.
differently. And they had such courage. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have anyone telling them what they should do. Women had to sit with their conscience, sit with themselves, and make the decision to act, make the decision to find the consciousness raising group or the political group or the SNCC group, the flyers, follow the flyers. They had to find their own yellow brick
Yeah.
road in this way. And I think that we need that portrait right now. It can feel so hard to take any action at all. I find that even for myself, I'm a theater maker. I'm involved with a lot of political groups. I have interest in it, but it can be so hard to just get up and do something. Go to a communal organizing group, go to a municipal governmental meeting, get out there and get involved. And Liberation is showing you a portrait of women who take several small steps that become big steps.
Yes.
And I honestly took the role of the director on this play because I wanted to inspire myself to get a little more courage. Because women in that time were really courageous to me.
Yes. But you are very courageous in what you do,
Thank
the way
you.
you do it. It's clear. Couple of more things. You have
Okay.
many original works. Tell us a little bit about that, and
Hmm.
then the fact that you are an associate artist at the Roundabout and an associate director at Shakespeare DC.
Yeah.
Touch on this a
So
little
I'll
bit.
tell you a little bit about my original work in artistic life, and I'll talk about the roundabout. Um, I still love music. It's the cat's out of the bag. I used to joke around and think I could hide it. Now it's out of the bag. I can't hide it. And so I write a lot of adaptations of Shakespeare's works set to music. And
Mhm.
they're typically performed with a band of 4 people and a cast of 6 people, including me. And they're all kind of a look at Shakespeare's women and what it means to play them, and the questions that come up when you're trying to play them. And the question of like, why do we still do this? I love them, but why are we still doing it? Just why and how and how is it that Shakespeare captured something so honest that it is applicable to us today? So the kind of my own work that I write is kind of centered around adaptations and new music. And then, with the Roundabout Theater, when Todd Haynes was alive, Todd Haynes was the previous artistic director, and I had the great fortune to be a directing fellow while during his tenure. And I was very moved by my experience because this is a huge theater with with a very long-standing, prestigious history, spanning Broadway and off Broadway.
Mhm.
And I feel that when Todd walked me in the door to that theater, he treated me like he would treat any other person, even though I had no credits at the time. And I was very moved by that. And now years later, working on Liberation in that very theater, it feels very full circle because I do think there's like an equality, an equal kind of that an equality amongst the actors and the playwright and myself. And I'd like to think that Todd's spirit is guiding me and how I've led that process to try as hard as I can to make everyone feel on equal ground. And I think the Roundabout is great. They have so much potential, again, on Broadway and off to do more work that can be a part of the cultural dialogue we all need to be having. I've really enjoyed it.
And illuminating all
Yeah.
around.
Hmm.
I want to end with your fellowships.
Sure.
You tell us. I don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I think unless you're very, very lucky, if you want to be a working artist, there's only a few ways to do that. And the three most obvious ways are through education, mentorship, and then applying for fellowships in which you can develop your own work. And there were a couple along the way that were particularly instrumental to me. One is the Drama League's directing fellowships.
Mm.
I would say the Drama League is really special because They take you based off your ideas, right? Not your resume, not what school you went to, but what is the idea that you have that you want to incubate? And there's very few places that do that.
That's true.
Very few. And then after that, New York Theater Workshop was also another huge step for me because that plugged me into a cohort of wonderful artists, many of whom are working, all of whom are working in their own disciplines today. But New York Theater Workshop, is where Rent premiered so many years ago. And it's just a beautiful theater that makes you think of yourself as an artist before a business person, which is very valuable, has been very valuable to me. And every time I step inside that theater, I feel like I'm in my own space. I'm at home in a way. And I've also done the Rolex Arts Fellowship, which was wonderful because that helped me kind of expand, and it helps all of its candidates expand into a bit more of a global arena, which is really meaningful to me. I lived in Paris for a while. I'm as passionate about international theater as I am domestic US theater. And I don't think my work would be what it is without my research on theater in Bali, the No Theater of Japan, West African theater traditions, Lecoq, clown, Italian opera. Like, so the Rolex Fellowship was great because I got to just, learn more about what's going on in other places in the world.
Now that you say that, I realize why you're so good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, because I was wondering how you had such a depth in what you're doing being so young. But
Thank
now
you.
I understand because you're young, but you have an old soul and you've
Thank you.
studied all that.
Because we're not the first people to do theater. When you go and look at great, great Italian opera, I mean, goodness, there's so much inspiration there. And in many ways, Liberation is directed like an opera, with the people in these big distances filling the expanse. So yeah, global theater is also a teacher for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Another show I love on TV. I'm a Virgo. Oh my
Oh, yes.
God. Oh my God. I love it.
Thank
Oh,
you.
it's so fantastic. I was like, wow, what is
It
this?
was wonderful being on that team. I was a part of a team working with Boots Riley. He's a wonderful artist, and thank you. We're gonna have to hang out more. You know everything.
Well, I know those things. I've seen you in many, many things because I love theater. So, yes, please. You got
Thank you.
ask to get my number and let's
I
get in touch.
will. It was very
Absolutely.
meaningful having you at the show, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our viewer.
Yeah.
Uh, we have come to the end of this wonderful conversation. I'm so happy we could do it.
Yeah.
Please follow us on YouTube when you want to see our past episodes. YouTube My Harlem Portraits.
Hmm.
Like, subscribe. It's free. Make it viral.
Yeah.
I want to bring this show to Europe. So I need to have as many subscriptions as possible to bring it to the TV and to the show there because this is my passion. It's not a job. I do it for
Yeah.
passion and because I want to know people to know the excellence in this community.
Thank you. Thank you for your passion.
Yes. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah.
See you next Saturday, 12:30 p.m.
Ciao.
Perfetto. Ciao bella, ci
Ciao
vediamo
Bella.
presto. Grazie tantissime. Ciao ciao.